This cannot be allowed to happen any further. And so, he valiantly charges into the sandstorm. He tries to slash the sandstorm with all of his might, trying to break its form, and perhaps destroy it. Unfortunately for him, even after this attack, the sandstorm stands untouched, and the slash which he has put in it slowly gets covered. Raman is on his last legs now, thinking that now there is nothing he can do. He's basically doomed. He also starts to sink even further in, and Eugene is still flying still. He is doing this because he can't escape the sandstorm using Gale's wind, as it would just try to suck him back in. So holding on like this is the best he can really do. Perhaps then, he should just use Blink and teleport out of this area. But now, he doesn't really want to, as something very big and perhaps even more dangerous is coming out of the sand. He spots Raman barely holding on and snarls while picking him up with magic and throwing him away. He tells him to run away already. Is he dumb or something? That's when a gigantic sandworm appears right below Eugene, and before he can react, it swallows him whole. Raman is extremely shocked and very sad, as in order to save him, Eugene chose to be swallowed by this beast. He clenches his sword tightly and thinks that now he will repay this almost unpayable debt, as a true warrior should. He will be the one to slay this mighty sandworm and save the young master, even if it costs him his life. Inside of the sandworm, Eugene just falls, thinking that sandstorms are one of the few monsters that can completely erase whatever they eat using energy. So naturally, they do not have any excretory organs. So technically, it would be impossible to get out once someone gets in. That's not a problem for him, however, as he just needs to cut himself out of situation. He starts using the white flame method and also the circle flame method, creating a powerful mass of energy. Soon enough, he crashes through the backside of the sandworm and arrives into a cave, which is rather empty and dark. He looks at the wound of the sandworm and thinks that the summoning magic only attracted the sandworm. So it wasn't summoned, it only just resided in this region. Then perhaps, what he descended onto is a sandworm nest. When mages want to focus on some rather dangerous research and not expose themselves to others, they make things called dungeons. In this vast desert, the mages nicknamed sandworms dungeon makers. He remembers when Senya told him that sandworms naturally dig into the desert and create rather stable labyrinths. One can be created in around 10 days, and apparently, if left alone long enough, a sandworm will create a complex and deep underground dungeon. All a mage needs to do is slay the sandworm after getting the desired size, and use some reinforcement magic on the structure to ensure that the whole desert doesn't just drop on you. At the time, Hamel asked her if she is going to do the same thing too, which she found as an insult, as she has no need to hide herself into a creepy dungeon like that. Eugene pulls out his map and notices that there is a path among the countless entrances, and this dungeon might actually lead to where Hamel lived, his homeland. With newfound confidence, he moves forward. Raman wakes up from his daze tied up by sand mages and demands to know where he is situated. One of them notes that it was rather amusing to see him charge in so foolishly against the sandworm. Did he really think that he could kill such a beast at his measly level? Well, that doesn't really matter now, as they have brought him in here to ask him a couple of easy questions. Raman is cautious at this point and asks what types of questions. The Sand Mages explains that they want to know more about Eugene Lionheart, more precisely, why the spoiled brat of the Lionheart family is going around in the Kalyani Desert. And even more importantly, why is he, the warrior of the Emir of Kajitan, acting like a tour guide for him? Raman just looks at them while sweating, making the Sand Mage think that, just maybe, the Emir of Kajitan, the presumed to be great Tyree al-Madani, is planning to betray Nahama. It is only natural that this is his first thought, as it is his sole duty to prevent people from entering this area, with his life if he has to. But now, his very own warrior is doing the exact opposite thing. How strange. Raman asks them what they are doing in here, as the oasis above them was an illusion, and the sandstorm that came afterwards was most likely created by magic. Are all of this not their doing? The Sand Mage notes that he really doesn't understand the situation that he is in, it seems. He uses magic to twist his arms even further, and another mage explains that, in here, they are the ones that will be asking the questions, so all he needs to do is keep his mouth shut tight, for the sake of his master's honor at least. The other mage notes that, try as he might, he will die here no matter what. So, instead of an awfully painful death, Shouldn't he wish for the peaceful one? He will ask him again. Why is Eugene of the Lionheart family doing in Kayani? He clearly had a purpose since he entered Nahama. So the only conclusion they can really come to is that the Kayitan Emir is trying to betray the whole Nahama. Rahman thinks of his words, betray to be exact, making him come to the conclusion that his great leader, Al-Madani, was always a part of this scheme. He starts screaming at them. They are such petty creatures, using petty means to destroy the territory of another nation. They are the ones who should be protecting the royal family with their lives if they have to. So why are they all here? Were those sandstorms from above trying to also progress the desertification too? The mage explains that he is wrong about that, as in order to create a sandstorm large enough to cause such an event as desertification, they would need many more people, at least hundreds of professionally trained sand mages, if not more. Rahman asks what their purpose for being here is, and the mage once again twists his arms, noting that they are in no way obligated to answer his silly questions. Why is Eugene Lionheart in Kayani? Rahman tells them that it doesn't matter anyways, as Eugene has already passed away, since he was swallowed by the sandworm they attracted. One of the mages says that perhaps it was better for him to die like this, since his life is basically worthless anyways. That's when start discussing something, about how one of them found the sandworm that swallowed Eugene, and also that it had a large hole in its backside. If potentially he broke out of there, they can't let him poke around this place, no matter what happens. They also have assassins roaming about, so he will be caught soon enough. This fills Rahman with hope, as maybe, just maybe, Eugene will rescue him. The mages discuss what to do with him once they have captured him, and one suggests that creating needless conflict with the Lionhearts is unwise, so they will just erase his memories and throw him out of Kajani. Or even better, they should act as his protectors, as they might receive some handsome rewards for their selfless actions, right? It's quite nice that he is not here, as he would have heard all of this. Unfortunately for them, Eugene appears right next to them and stares with his golden eyes. The mages are now on full alert, as they wonder what happened to the assassins that were roaming the halls. One of them uses detection magic to see further in, and finds out that all of them are lying in pools of their own blood and lifeless. The one who saw all of this thinks that the assassins were well acquainted with the maze, to the point that they would be able to go around with their eyes shut. Combined with their exemplary stealth skills, they should make it extremely difficult for even an exceptional warrior to catch them. Eugene thinks that the assassins that tried to stop him weren't that great, as stealth is just a skill, and they are not that experienced in terms of handling mana. The ones he fought in his past life, which were also assassins of Nahama, were extremely advanced and had the stealth skills that would rival demons. They were also very persistent and most determined, to the point where one would think that they are not humans anymore. The ones in here are just awfully weak. If this place really is important to Nahama, there should be better assassins put in place, right? Is Nahama, or more importantly, its Sultan, not doing anything and lazing around? Rahman screams for him, making Eugene finally notice that he is also there, and wonder why he is in this place, as he made it easy for him to run away previously. What a dumbass. He notes that he has a lot of questions for the mages, and approaches, but that's when one of them tries to encapsulate him in some sand. Eugene slowly pulls out the sword fragment and throws it at the sand, while covering himself from the expected blast. Sure enough, the sand disperses into 100 places. This surprises all of the mages, and they stare at Eugene, who is holding the fragment of the sword while the dust around him clears. One of them wonders what he did, perhaps dispel. But that can't be it, as dispel is something that interferes with the mana around the spell, so what he did was getting rid of the mana instantly. A dispel like that shouldn't be able to exist, not even in the Great Aroth. Is it perhaps some very secret Lionheart family technique? All of this makes the mage think that they can't capture him alive, and unfortunate as it is, they need to just kill him at this point, lest he does that to them. Eugene notes that they attacked first, so naturally, they shouldn't have any complaints if he wants to kill them too. Isn't that right? The mages are now on full alert and position themselves into a formation. They create a large shockwave made out of sand, which makes Eugene smile. When the attack almost reaches Eugene, he throws his hand back and then releases the sword fragment at extreme speeds. Without any chance of reaction, the fragment ends up into the head of a mage, killing him instantly. After that, he uses this surprise to jump high into the air and gets ready to pounce. The mages attempt to summon some magic, but Eugene already knows what they are doing. It is extremely obvious, as they are trying to make copies of themselves below, but the real attack is right above him. He pulls out a whip out of his cloak and masterfully destroys all of the projectiles that come to end his life. After that, he grabs the head of one of the mages with the whip and in gruesome fashion pulls it off. After that, he calmly lands in front of the last remaining mage and asks him what they were doing here, as this is not a random place. The mage is too afraid to speak and can only put out some murmurs and moans.